unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Boxingego unpack. Yeah. We unpack. We unpack. We unpack. Coming to you live. Now this is concerning. Anthony Joshua comes in at a career high in his upcoming fight with Jermaine Franklin. Ego Weight Watchers, let's talk about it. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. We are moments away from Anthony Joshua versus Jermaine Franklin. It's a very important fight for Anthony Joshua because Joshua, if you follow the sport of boxing, you will know he is off 2 back-to-back losses to the same fighter. In fact, a fighter who moved up in weight, and that was Alexander Usyk. Definitely a talented fighter, but a smaller fighter nonetheless. So Joshua is in a very precarious situation and his career is kind of hanging on by a thread and teetering, and he's gonna look and need to make a statement and look impressive in this particular fight with Jermaine Franklin. However, for me, there are a few things that are a bit alarming, and that's what I want to talk about in this Ego Weight Watchers, aka ILL, where I give you a look into the fighter lifestyle before, after, and progress picks, especially when they have that upcoming fight. Now, for starters, AJ weighed 255.4, which is a career high. Now, somebody on Instagram, on my Instagram, @BoxingEgo1, they tried to correct me and said, no, he's weighed over 260. And I asked him what fight, and they wouldn't respond because that's inaccurate. This is, in fact, AJ's highest that he's weighed. He's weighed in the 250s, like with the fight with Klitschko. His heaviest, I believe, was Carlos Takam up until this fight with Jermaine Franklin. So that is alarming, and I'm going to explain that in a second. The other thing that kind of stood out to me was Anthony Joshua. He's back to kind of making these weird statements. He says if he loses to Jermaine Franklin, that he's going to retire. And he said something to the effect of that's what people want. And I thought that was a weird statement. You guys can look up the actual quote verbatim. I just thought it was a weird statement. Me personally, I don't really like when fighters start talking about retiring when they have an upcoming fight. You know, I think boxing is a grueling and very dedicated sport. You have to be very disciplined and dedicated to it. And I'm not saying Joshua isn't in terms of like the training and going through the motions, but I personally don't prefer to hear fighters talk about retirement, because boxing, from my understanding of the game, you can't have one foot out and one foot in. You got to be all the way in, because your life is on the line every time you lace them up and step in that square circle. So to me, it's not a joke and it's not a game. Like they say, you can't play boxing, and this could be the difference between life and death. That's why they say protect yourself at all times. You got to protect yourself at all times, because you're really risking your life just to fight. So when a fighter says these things about, oh, I'm going to retire and I knew I was retiring, I don't like that, because I think if you have the notion of retirement in your brain and in your mind, then you should retire at that moment. Not saying, I guess an exception would be if you have a path, if you say, hey, I'm going to retire in 5 years, or, I've heard Wilder and Tank and Canelo say things to this effect where they talked about, they have a game plan of how long they want to stay in the game, and then they're going to retire. I'm not really talking about that. That's a little bit more nitpicking. I'm talking about you have an upcoming fight and you say, hey, if I lose to this guy, I'm going to retire. I think that puts an insane amount of pressure on you as well. So this fight is going to be very interesting. I think a lot of people are picking Joshua because physicality and because he's bigger and he's with Derrick James now. A lot of people like Derrick James, great gym, trains Errol Spence, Jermell Charlo. I want to say this though. If Jermaine Franklin is pretty durable, which he appeared to be in the DILLIAN White fight, He seemed to be a cerebral fighter. And if he could take Joshua's power and show some grit and toughness to maybe get through tough moments, then this is going to be a very interesting fight. I'm really interested in this fight because, it's boxing. And at the end of the day, I'm always going to be interested in the storyline. And the Joshua storyline, I think it kind of comes to an end if he loses a third fight in a row. I mean, that's going to be catastrophic if he were to lose 3 fights in a row. And not to diss Jermaine Franklin, because I actually do like Jermaine Franklin, but I want to say it would be like Alexander Usyk was undisputed already. And he was a name that everybody had knew before he even came to heavyweight, right? Winning the Ali trophy and the super tournament, the World Boxing Super Series tournament. So he knocked out Tony Bellew, who had 2 great performances at heavyweight with David Haye, and knocked out David Haye. And then Usyk knocked him out brutally. So everybody knew who Usyk was. There was questions about how he would fare at heavyweight, but he kind of silenced the critics. But people knew him to be a good fighter because he was previously undisputed. Versus Jermaine Franklin, I'm not knocking him, but at the end of the day, he's kind of like a dark horse in the division, and no one really knew who he was. And he kind of bought himself another opportunity with the DILLIAN WHYTE performance. I do actually think he beat DILLIAN WHYTE, for the record. And I'm happy that he's getting this opportunity because, the judges could say whatever they want, but the real fans know what it is and what it ain't. And I think it's messed up when you see a fighter like Jermaine Franklin put the blood, sweat, and tears into their performance. They should win, and then, a guy gets a hometown decision or whatnot. So very interesting fight. On top of Joshua coming in at a career high weight, you also have Jermaine Franklin, who's coming in as an underdog. Joshua has the crowd advantage, and he's 23 pounds lighter than he was for the DILLIAN WHYTE fight. Now, I don't know all the particulars in the DILLIAN WHYTE fight, how much time he was given to prepare. Sometimes fighters get, when they're the B side or whatever, they get late calls and only have 4 or 5 weeks to prepare, kind of like Andy Ruiz Jr. when he beat Anthony Joshua. So I don't know how much time Jermaine Franklin had, but he looks to be leaner and in better shape than the DILLIAN WHYTE fight. So if he could take that power, it's going to be a very interesting fight, because I still have questions about Joshua's mentality and dog mind. And does he have dog in him when the going gets tough, when he can't just have his way? Is he a front runner? And even with adding Derrick James, I mean, I'm not going to blame Derrick James. There's only so much Derrick James could do for a fighter he's only had for one camp. So for me, I think I've always given the advice that I thought I'm just the best at the business. I've always said that Joshua should have came to America and start training with an American trainer. I even said Derrick James well before he actually linked with Derrick James, right? And Joshua didn't. He stubbornly, stayed in the UK with, Finchley, Rob McCracken. He taught me as an amateur. And, he wanted to stay loyal or whatever. But when it comes to your career, there is no loyalty. You got to do what's best for you. It's like staying in a toxic relationship because you're being loyal to the person's cheating on you, verbally abusive, physically abusive. It's not loyalty. That's just being stupid. You're just staying in a messed up, toxic relationship just because, you got to stay loyal to things that are loyal to you. And sometimes you get with people and they can take you as far as they can. And, you got to move on and grow with other people because that person can't, take you to the next level. And I always thought that with Joshua, but he stayed in the UK, and then now he's switching a bunch of trainers and still losing. He switched to Robert Garcia, still lost. Now he's switching to Derrick James. That's a lot. I think Joshua should have made this move quite a while ago. So I'll give him props if he beats Jermaine Franklin, because I think Jermaine Franklin definitely solid. I liked his boxing, and he's patient. And it's going to be interesting because I see Franklin as being kind of like a counter puncher and more like of a thinker and cerebral, and not necessarily, and maybe even patient to a fault. But if Joshua's coming at him and coming to get him, and then he's looking to counter, it could be a very interesting fight when it comes to the battle of the wits and the mentality, if Joshua is put in hard spots or gets hurt or things like that. So I'm looking forward to it. A lot of components here. With Joshua losing 2 times in a row, this will be a 3rd loss if he loses. He's coming in at a career high weight. And another thing about the weight, since we're talking about ego Weight Watchers, one thing that's crazy, and I don't personally like, I don't like when fighters switch a bunch of trainers, like Chad Dawson. He had like 13 different trainers. That's crazy to me. And another thing is, like with Joshua, in terms of his weight doesn't seem situated. Sometimes he looks like he's trying to get real small and lean down, like the Ruiz 2 fight. But then the first Ruiz fight, he looked, massive and he's flexing. And then he leans down for, let's say, the Usyk fight, the rematch. And then now he's bulked up and he's career high. I don't know. I just feel like he doesn't know what he wants to do with his weight. I don't know if Joshua truly has an identity. Do you want to be this Hulk and bulk guy? Do you want to be a like light and lean? He doesn't really have something and stick with it. Like, I get it. Wilder, he bulked up for the Tyson Fury 3rd fight, but I think Wilder typically operates more on the athletic, lean, muscular side. Like he's not extra bulk. That's why people say he looks like a basketball player. Tyson Fury's calling him skinny, skinny basketball player and stuff like that. Joshua seems to get like insanely big, and then for certain fights he wants to lean down and he'll look real light. So I don't know how he picks and chooses that, and in terms of being a dog, it's not just being bigger and outweighing. Yeah, Joshua got power, he got cracks. So yeah, he could definitely hurt you, but that doesn't make you a dog mentality wise just because you're bigger. There's a lot of Hector Luis Garcia was bigger than Gervonta Davis, and he got stopped and pretty much quit. So interesting fight. Come back for the watch party. I'll probably do a watch party. Subscribe to the channel. Interesting fight. Do or die fight for Joshua. Franklin, career, I can't say career light, but he's 23 pounds lighter. Joshua, career high for his weight. Kind of interesting to see these decisions. Let me know what you guys think, and I'm out. Introducing Super Thanks. Right here on the official Boxingego YouTube. Super Thanks allows you, the viewers, to show a little bit of extra gratitude, which enables me as a full-time content creator to push out the content you need in the world of boxing. Underneath all the videos, you will see a heart with the $sign in it. You can enter any amount that you find suitable as a super thanks. A brand new interactive and colorful way to get your comments highlighted and noticed by not only myself, but other people on the YouTube platform. Super thanks, a unique and cool way to show and applaud us full-time content creators. Hopefully you guys enjoy the content. Super thanks. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.